My name is Piet Naudé. I am the director of University of Stellenbosch Business School, USB. We had a leaders angle, and the topic was why women's days fail and what to do about it. And I tried to set out the network in which sexism is housed and supported in our society, and how we can transcend that to live a life according to our constitution. But let me start off by saying it is about sexism. It is about the uneven awarding of power based on assumptions about their gender roles. In fact, it comes down to discrimination against girls, women, gays, transsexual people based on their gender or sexual orientation. And in our constitution, it's very, very clear. It was from the beginning mentioned alongside racism as something that we need to fight against to build a so-called non-sexist, non-racist society. But colleagues, it's an incredibly complex phenomenon. It's not so easy to fight against sexism because it is fed from different streams to make this tree grow, if I may use that language, extremely well. And those sources are ones that I could share with you today. It comes from culture, it comes from religion, it comes from sport, beautifully illustrated every day. It is rife in politics, and it is definitely also supported by business. So you're up against the animal here that is not easy to tackle. So I call this the deadly cooperating network of sexism. You can fight them in the business world and then they hit you in culture. When you fight them in culture, it strikes you in religion. When you think you get the religious guys in their place, then suddenly on the TV through advertisements, all those stereotypes are again being put forward. It's very important to remember, like your parents, you cannot choose your culture. If your culture in which you are born into, like mine, is patriarchal, men at the center and at the top, education actually means that I'm introduced into the sexist self-understanding and sexist understanding of others. It's not that you choose it. You get it literally with your mother's milk. Well, metaphorically, with your mother's milk. All of us, when we grow up with a deep sense of social reward. Education, if you want to see it in a certain way, is simply adapting people to the ways that are, so that you reward them for being in that way. And when that being is a gender assumption, there's no way out of it. So what are the cultural examples? It starts before the birth. We now know what the gender of our future children will be. And then we put the colors for the baby room. And you must watch my tie. I chose it very carefully this morning. Pink is for soft, it's for cuddling, it's for caring, it's for nurturing. Blue is for strong, is for assertive, is for rational, is for leading. So your poor child, as you prepare the room, you doom them already to a sexist life. If your girl falls off the chair or down the steps, you pick her up and say, "Cry, my child, cry, here is your mommy. Moenie huil nie, huil by your mommy, huil by your mommy." When your boy falls off the stairs, jy moenie huil nie, 'n groot man huil nie. Vee gou die traantjies af, jy's maar 'n sterk seentjie. And then obviously when we look at the extremely high figures of rape incidents in this country, I want to remind you of what researchers tell us. Rape is not a crime of passion. It's not because a man wants to have sex that he rapes somebody. It happens in war zones, it happens in our own society, in the richest homes and in the poorest homes. It's a crime of power. It's to show that I dominate. When it comes to religion, my subject field, a very powerful force, because all three are book religions, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, makes it very clear that women are ordained by God to be subordinate to men. They are good, but they're there to serve. We must remember that the three holy books, the Quran, the Torah, and the Holy Scriptures were all produced in patriarchal cultures, and in fact, as far as we can study that, written by men themselves. So already in the text is a patriarchal mindset. In places of worship, women are in some places separated from the men, because they are not seen as holy or having access to the holiest of places. And we all know that the assignment of leadership and teaching positions like rabbis and priests and cardinals and popes or imams are in some strands of all three book religions still exclusively maintained for men. Why? Now, you know, sport plays exactly the same role. You know me, I don't like mass participation in sport. I think it's all fake. I'm very much against the way in which sport has been professionalized, because it just distorts values. It's very interesting how men and women events are separated, which is fine, because obviously biologically men are physically stronger than women, we know that. But then what happens is the sponsor steps in. They sponsor the men's event. Have you ever seen a FIFA World Cup for women? High up on the agenda. I don't even know which countries play. Let me remind you that the real women liberation movement came exactly to get women voting rights. And it happened in terms of democratic development very, very late. Do you know that in many so-called Western countries, by the turn of the previous century, women did not have women's rights? Voting rights. So this idea that women should participate equally with men in the running of a country is a very late development in human society. You create a women's league, die vrouwenvereniging, die ACVV, so that they don't serve on the actual kerkraad. They must bake, hulle moet pannekoek bak, en as daar begrafnis is, gaan hulle die tee maak. You create a separate structure so that you, in a way, marginalize the possible claim that women might have on the real leadership. And then let's come to the business school. It starts long before business. Remember, the day you enter business, you already come a certain road of education. And already there the discrimination starts. I think it's slowly being eroded in the more secular parts of South African society. But I still remember very well when we had to do subject choices. And then the teacher who helped us to make those choices would come into the class and say, "Goeiemôre seuns en dogters, goeiemôre meneer." These days they don't have that respect anymore. But in any case. And then he would say, ons gaan nou die vakkeuses uitsit. Ek wil net graag vir julle sê, ons wil graag hê ons seuns moet wetenskap neem, is baie belangrik. En wiskunde. Die dogters, ons het huishoudkunde en tale. That is home economics and language. It has changed a little bit, but not a lot. It's now much freer, and many girls or women pass with science and math, but that does not mean they get into those professions. I see it repeated time after time after time after time, and it makes me sadder and sadder and sadder to see it. What happens? You now liberated the women, the young girls and the boys, they take the same subjects at school and then they both go into studying. Let's make it, they study to become CAs, chartered accountants. So both of them do the BCom degree, they do the honors degree, they write the first qualifying exam, they go into their internship years at one of the big 5 or big 4, and then they write the second qualifying exam, and now their career should actually start. But now both of them decide it is time to get married. The woman now suddenly finds herself in a position that she's pregnant with her first child, and she feels this deep sense of motherly responsibility towards that child, which is deeply ingrained in our psyche. It should be like that. But then society determines where the burden will lie. So what happens is the married man can progress in his career. He got 60% for his CA exam. The pregnant woman got 90%. She's much sharper than he is. But now she is in this position. So she decides, I'll take my 4 months allowed by the law, But then she falls pregnant with her second child, and she says, I think I should take a break for 3 or 4 years to really invest in, and that is socially acceptable. That's what a good mother does. In the meantime, the man progresses in his career. By the age of about 38, she returns to the profession, and now she wants a job. The man who was much stupider than her 5, 6 years ago, he's now the guy who looks at who to employ. And the first word he says is, you've got a wonderful qualification, the problem is you lack experience. Can we now say, why are there so few women in the boardroom? Because of the unequal burden that society places on them in a crucial part of their development. And then we know there's unequal pay still rife. I heard a lecturer from UJ spoke on the radio the other day, Babita. I don't have those figures with me. I didn't have time to check it. Her results of her study was that women on average earn 17%. Obviously it differs now in different areas, but averaging to 17% below. She then made the interesting remark to say, women then have to work 14 months to earn 12 months of what men earn. Okay, let me end. I am not against symbolism and big events like a Women's Day rally. Because I do believe that those events can work only if they are embedded in other things. Why I think Women's Day fails is because it's fake. That's why I say it fails. It does not contribute. It's the same you say, Reconciliation Day, the 16th of December, has contributed over the last 20 years to reconciliation in South Africa. I mean, what a joke. Well, we need conscientization. This is what I'm doing this morning. My job as an educator, and I hope an intellectual, is to help to conscientize people. I'd like you and others and myself to see the world differently. I do believe we need a massive re-education of our children. For the 9 years that they are in school by law, we've got a fantastic opportunity to teach and exemplify to our young boys and girls that we are equal human persons, although we might be different biologically or in terms of culture. There's one thing we stand. The values of our Constitution will remain the basis of our educational system. We need to shift our roles in our marriage partnership so that our children can see that so-called womanly things can also be done by men because they want to be a good partner. And then we need the public leadership examples. Very important that we have women leaders, that we have men with inclusivist mindsets, stating and actually enacting a non-sexist lifestyle so that people can see and imitate that. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we need, and this is how ethics work, you need the aspirational stuff, but you also need the vigorous application of the law. What is in our way? The first one is simple. If you're racist in this country, you're gone. They will hang you in public. If you're sexist, it's fine. The reason is black men are sexist. Because they come from that culture. I'm not blaming them. I was there myself. I am still there. That is why the sexism agenda will always be secondary. If you try and move away from the particular social roles in which you were conscientized and embedded and educated, it creates huge anxieties and conflict. I want to warn you. Marriage conflict, family conflict, work conflict. It's a long journey that will require us to unweb this unholy web of significance that has been spun around gender roles. And I just want to say USB just accepted a new set of values for us, and I'm proud to say that we included into those values the value of inclusivity. We want to try and become a school, at least in the terms of this morning, where women find it exciting to work, not because they get special treatment, but simply because they get equal treatment. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.